Okay, pressing buttons. Let's see if this works. Okay, well, hello. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Hopefully, y'all can see me. And most importantly, hopefully y'all can hear me. That's important. So, we're back once again. It's been a while for another Horizen stream, and if everyone turned up okay, or sorry, I should say if the mail shot from Traction turned up all okay, then we should have a lot more people showing up later. But let's just see, because I'd like to do a giveaway if possible, but we can only do that in a raffle-based system. So anyway, we'll see how the numbers evolve over the next hour or so. So hopefully everyone is doing marvellously well, because life is good here in the sunny UK. Working hard on new stuff for Horizen, as always. And we have just dropped our latest expansion, which is the Empire of Bass, which is now available to download from traction.com. So y'all can grab that at any point if needed, as well as all our other expansions that are good to go as well. So we have quite a few out now. The ones we have are the 84 synthwave expansion called 84 All Year. We have Deep Horizons, which is the ambient and beautiful kind of cinematic evolving stuff. We have the Empire of Bass, which we're going to talk about today. We've got Tape-Op, which is the old kind of old vinyl sampling days, or dusty, crusty kind of instruments and things like that. Then we have the Underground, which is your dark, twisted, distorted, kind of eerie, kind of horror-esque sort of expansion. So, and we've obviously got many more in the works incoming, which is obviously always a good thing, because Horizen is expanding, and even more so in the future, because we're going to be doing some updates soon as well. So it's free to download for everyone as well, so which is a good thing. So I do hope, and I sincerely hope, that everyone is obviously enjoying using Horizen. But today we're going to help out a few people as well, just by showing a few folks around Horizen, because I've had quite a few support calls with asking for a little bit of guidance on certain things, so we will do that. Mostly to do with some of the loop players that we have. And so just, it's always a good idea to kind of do these streams and just collect all the information that we can that has come from the feedback from the community, and then kind of deal with it in a one stream scenario, you know. So, and I think that's an important thing to do, because it just helps everybody. We don't like to have people sitting there wondering and getting themselves confused. I mean, obviously, sorry, I'm eating mints at the same time. It's a terrible habit. I apologise. Anyway, at the end of the day, is one thing I will say about Horizen, and that, well, not just Horizen actually, just any synth. It's like, when you're new to something, everything becomes really overwhelming at first. But it's when you learn to drive it at its basic level when it becomes interesting and fun, because that is obviously when you can then really kind of get down to business, you know, and start really being creative, because you know what you're doing, you know. So I think that's always an important part of any music, really. I think any synth, any DAW, anything in life actually, but we'd rather not have people sort of left confused if we can help them when we can. I mean, I know I help so many people on support as well, and just kind of help them or guide them through certain aspects that they're trying to go for, you know, bits and pieces. So, and what I also want to point out is that, you know, I mean, we do have a lot of, you know, people asking questions, but I'd always welcome it. You know, I don't want anyone to sit there and think, oh, you know, they're not going to have the time to answer questions and things like that. But I just want to point out and say that, yes, we are a very small development team, but we'll always have time to deal with something, you know, one way or another. At the end of the day, we're creating this for you guys out there, you know, the universe, so to speak. So it's in our interest to have good feedback from you people as well. And so far, everything has been really positive. And honestly, I just want to sort of thank everybody for that. I think it's a wonderful thing if we can always create something that we all enjoy together and see the journey through, watching the synth evolve, so on and so forth. You know, I think it's a really good thing. So, as I said, we have got a lot of things in the works, and we've got more expansions on the way as well. We're just going to keep on this on a loop because we want to see this grow now into quite a big ocean of options for people. You know, so especially over the next couple of years that we've got development for, and the development cycle that we have is quite vast. So we really just want to bring it home and do the best we can. So, you know, we're always looking at ways that we can improve things, you know, not just on the synth itself, but just obviously just by sounds and things like that, and the way we operate and deliver things. You know, but as I said, it's we won't know any of that unless people start speaking out. So obviously I do encourage people to keep on the support tickets that you guys are doing. And yeah. So anyway, all that long, rather boring intro out the way. Hopefully, as I said, everyone's doing really well today. So feel free. I'm just going to kind of just ramble on today because you know, as you can see, we don't have a huge following here, being such a small company, and we don't have the resources available to us to do hundreds of YouTube videos and things like that. So it's, you know, so we can only do what we can possibly do, but we are trying to get better. It's just time is not a factor from us. So, hello, Peter, welcome. So you didn't miss it. Yeah, so you're right on time. So, you know, we just kind of started, so it's a good thing. So welcome once and, you know, one and everybody. So hopefully everyone's doing really awesome today. So it's good to see everybody here. So the stream's starting to fill up a little bit now, which is nice. If I'd have known that, I would have put my best clothes on, right? But I didn't. So, and I'm sitting here and now I'm addicted to mints, and I don't want to sit here and eat mints while I'm streaming because it's not a good look, really. So, and I don't think you need to hear that sound of me chomping on mints for the next hour. I don't think it would be too good. So anyway, so let me ask, out of all the viewers that we have today, who owns Horizen and any expansions? Please raise your hand. So I need to know whether to show people Horizen itself, or you know, or just to do things a different way. So, hey Blade Runner, how you doing? Hopefully you're doing awesome. So I know you own. You don't own the expansions, okay, Peter? No problem. You know, actually, the expansions are, I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't want to misspeak here, but I do believe that the expansions are on a discount right now on traction.com. I can't confirm right now because I've got too many windows open on my multi-monitor setup here. It's just so confusing. I feel like I'm literally sitting in the Matrix. So I am doing really well, Blade. Thanks for asking. It's been a very, very busy last few months, I'm not going to lie. It's been utter chaos, as always. You know, we're getting ready for things in the summer, and obviously Horizen development has been really busy and full on as well, which is great. You know, I'm certainly not complaining. It's always good to have the extra push, you know. So I was just saying earlier on in my really rather boring intro, and I don't want to repeat it again because you can watch it back. But you know, we've got a lot of stuff in the works for new expansions and some updates that are coming as well for Horizon that will keep everyone happy. So it's all coming. It's all coming up. It really, really is. We're still, you know, doing the grind, as they say. So, you know, I just want to ask a question, and feel free to wait until this stream is over and then put it in the comments below. But because we've got lots of expansions done and planned, we always like to ask people, you know, what sort of things they want as well. So feel free to kind of let us know in the comments later on after the video, you know, about what sort of things you'd like to see from us. You know, because we're always happy to kind of look at things and, you know, and to see what's what. So that would be an exciting thing. So, okay, so so we do have our latest expansion, which is the Empire Base. Now, I will talk about this because it's unfortunately with bass, right, from a synth, it's really hard to demo because it's designed to do one thing, and that's hold the bottom end together. So it's not going to be a very particularly interesting video with me sitting there tinkling around with lots of bass sounds. So, you know, we can discuss it and I can show you a few things and bits and pieces like that. But we do have a couple of videos, I think, on Traction's YouTube channel. So I think on there's lots of good stuff. So you can obviously always have a look at that. So, Peter says, more acoustic, organic stuff. Pads are too obvious, although never enough great pads. I agree, Peter, absolutely. Make a Blade Runner pack, I'd love to. So, I mean, there is something like a Blade Runner pack later on, which is, I've got planned. I've got it jotted down anyway, because I'm currently compiling a long list of all the stuff that we're going to kind of feature. And one of them is kind of like Evangeli's sort of, you know, Blade Runner-esque kind of thing. Not too dissimilar from a synthwave thing, but kind of more geared towards the kind of the atmospheric kind of analog kind of synths, you know. So we got something like that in the kind of in our mind, in the pocket, let's say. So you'll be happy about that. Peter, the thing is, the problem is that we've got with doing kind of realistic stuff. We don't have a problem doing it, but for a soft synth that we are, we kind of, our policy's always been, look, we're going to be a synth rather than a realistic instrument, because obviously there's people that dedicate themselves to that, such as I'm not going to name names, but I think you understand. The people that do all the acoustic stuff, the orchestra things and bits and pieces. And because we're not that, we don't want to dedicate something and do a half-assed job at something when we can do something else much better and dedicate all the tools that we have available for that, if that makes sense. So we kind of really want to just do things that our synth is good at, you know, so, and that it's designed to do. You know, if we start putting in like acoustic instruments and things like that, then you've got to then look at things differently in the way the synth operates, and so we won't be using the power of what we have, if that makes kind of sense. So, oh yeah, totally, I've got you there. So, you know, that's not an issue. You know what? Actually, the other day I was doing some music, and I was needing some plucks. And you know what I ended up using? And that's a lot of bass patches, you know, the small Satako kind of clubby kind of basses, right? I ended up using all my basses for plucks. And it just, with a much sort of nicer success than actually using a normal pluck sound, which is ironic. And I never really kind of thought about it that way before, but give that a go. Try it, and you might be surprised. That was quite interesting. So let me switch screens here. Hey, look, I'm going to try and be professional here when I do this. Ready? I can press this button. and I pressed the wrong one, of course. That's my whole screen. But I can press this. There you go. I'm now not so much in your face because, you know, look, and I'm eating mints, of course, so, you know, it's really good. Right, I will tell you, the next expansion, though, is going to be a really exciting one. And it's finished. I've just got to put it all together. And we recorded some real pipists, and I don't know what they're called. Pipists? That's such a stupid word. Someone who can play a lot of wind instruments, right? So we've got a lot of exotic flutes and things like this, right? So we're creating a cinematic kind of dojo of just beautiful ethereal kind of pipe sounds and all this type of thing. It's just going to be golden. It's going to sound awesome. You know, some shakawakis, some you know, some whistle pipes, some just general kind of exotic Japanese pipes as well. And it was really hard to make because obviously pipes, they have a very, very limited range in terms of octave. So we recorded them all here in the live room, and then I had to go through them and just cut them all up and then make them across multi-octaves, which wasn't so fun, but it turned out really good. So I'm really excited, and I can't wait for that because it's just gonna be just brilliant. It just gave me goosebumps, you know. So you know, that's really, really nice to do. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's the next one we're doing. And on the same note, I'll do another spoiler. The one after that, we were lucky enough, because obviously this is a recording studio as well, as you know. We were doing a record, and we were sent from the record label an original B3 organ, right? And that thing just sounded incredible. You know, I mean, I don't own a B3, obviously, because who does? And all I've got is the software VSTs for the B3s. And that's what I'm kind of used to hearing, you know? But it just shocked me how different a real one is and how great it sounds. And so, of course, we had it for 2 weeks. So I cheekily just captured 1 million samples of it. So so that's all coming up soon as well. We're going to include it in a pack. It won't be just an organ pack because that would be no fun. But so we're going to do something really cool about that. So so that's sort of incoming as well. So hello RL, any deduct sounds? Well, I didn't capture a deduct this time, but we do already have a deduct inside Horizen, so you know, so that's a bonus. But we are, look, the deduct is one of my favorite sounding instruments of all time. It just absolutely blows my mind every time I hear it. Unfortunately, because it's the way that a deduct is being played, it's very, very hard to capture the expression via a sample or a synth, right? So what I've decided to do is teach myself how to play a deduct, right? Legit, I'm being serious, right? And so I'm going to buy a deduct, learn how to play it, and then I'm going to do, and then I'm going to sample it myself in a proper way that I can then kind of do. You know what I mean? So that would be a lot of fun. I've always fancied learning it, so it's one of those things, right? So yeah, that'd be a laugh. But yeah, it's some really nice stuff. So today, though, obviously we are going to be dealing with some bass stuff. So let me put my headphones on, otherwise I won't be able to hear anything. Nope, sorry about that. The feedback was real there for a second. Traction seemed to only have Empire. Okay, fair enough. So maybe because it was a launch sale, they put that on there. I thought they'd have the other ones on there as well, but obviously not. Right, now, hopefully you all can hear this. Right, with a bit of luck. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop talking, because that's always fun for you guys. So, and I'm just going to go through a couple of presets and just play some of the bass sounds. So, and then you can have a listen at what we kind of got offering. But you got to bear in mind with bass that, well, you don't need me to explain this. Bass isn't a solo instrument, and therefore very difficult to kind of get behind of like, oh, that's great, you know, and it's very much in the context of what you're doing, you know, so it is what it is. But look, you know, it's one of those things that you've got to kind of sit there and do yourself rather than be played to, because it depends on what you want and what you're looking for. So I'm just going to go through a few and just kind of go through it from there. So let's just mute and play. Anyway, you get the idea here. They're not particularly that very interesting solo, but obviously when you start putting them in a track and you start grooving properly and in a nicer position than I am, then you can kind of really get what you want realistically. So let me just catch up on the questions. The apricot bass is quite nice for what you do. Well, it depends what type of music you do. I mean, they all serve a purpose, you know, so it's just with bass, I find I struggle to kind of inspire myself just to sit there and play bass. Super, super, super important. Don't get me wrong. Bass is probably one of the most important sounds that you can have. But you never kind of normally, not normally anyway, although there are no rules, but normally you don't start with a bass and say, look, you know, hey, I'm just going to kind of riff out on this until I get some ideas, and then you put every instrument around that. It's not really how it kind of works. So just the bass is just an integral part of the music that you're doing, and so it kind of falls into place naturally. But what we've tried to do is to kind of try at least to capture the essence of what roughly people kind of want across multi-genre of music as a really good starting point. So yeah, so there's that. Peter says, so do you program your bass sounds in context with a session when program? I can't say I've ever done that personally. Not really, no, I don't. But again, you look to what, with any sound actually, it's not just bass, but with anything, you kind of look what is kind of mostly kind of mainstream or popular at that specific time, and then you draw inspiration from that. You know, so for example, like, let's take the 80s stuff, for example, right? I know that the 80s have been trying to make a comeback for such a long time. And like a lot of big artists now are kind of doing a lot more 80s stuff, a lot more. And so the synthwave, as we know it as, is now evolving into another multi-genre. Of course, there's another multi-genre, because why not, right? We've only got 15,000 different genres for different things. Why not just add another one? You know, it's just getting ridiculous at this point. Let's just call it what it is and just call it 80s vibe, right? So 80s vibe is kind of full on quite strong. So if that's what people are buying into, then they're more likely try and stop across our pack and purchase that type of thing based of what they're kind of writing at the moment. And so you've always got to kind of look at trends and things like that, which I kind of do, and there's lots of ways you can do that. Splice being one of them, and other authoring programs and other sites and other packs and this, that and the other, as well as just general resource and information. So you gather what roughly people want, and then you kind of get, I always have like a little template in my DAW of just basic chords, like an electric piano chord, you know, a pad chord, a little guitar riff or something like that, you know, something similar, or sorry, not similar, something that's in that genre. Only a couple of bars of it, that's all I need. And that's the template that I work from, and then I kind of make sounds based off what fits on that, so I know that it's kind of ready to go, if that makes any sense. Hopefully that answered your question anyway. With a bit of luck it did. So, but most of the time, you kind of, inspiration draws deep just from just simply sitting there playing and tweaking. And my philosophy in life is, you can look at references, you can look at everything, but at the end of the day, does it sound good, yes or no? And that's what I run with all the time is, do I like it? Yes. If so, it's staying. If no, keep on working at it or ditch it and start again, you know? And so, I mean, obviously with music and sounds alike, it's all very subjective. So what I could sit here and rave on about this, oh, this is brilliant, this is fantastic. But the next guy next to me is sitting there going, well, no, it's not. And that's totally fine, you know? So, I mean, the good thing about expansions is that it doesn't cater for everybody. You know, it's like, that's why we do lots of them, because some people will be really heavily into the cinematic things and that's what they love about us. But other people will be more like, well, you know what, we love your EDM leads and your stuff that you've done there, or your hip hop sounds and things. And that's where they live. And so, you know, we kind of recycle and we go around a big kind of a loop to kind of try and please as many people as we can, but we understand that we can't please everybody, and you know, we wouldn't even attempt that because it's impossible, and we just do the best that we can. And what we agreed upon as a development company, we said, look, you know, we've got to be happy first. As long as we're happy, then hopefully we can portray that happiness and the love and the passion that we do, that you guys buy into, you know. And so it's a really good thing. And also it's very important that we've got the tool set for you to then be able to do what we do as well. And so everything that I do is done on this synth. And so obviously whatever I do, you can do, if not better, and, you know, to suit what you're doing. I mean, you know, because let's be honest, don't ever buy into all the marketing hype of, oh, everything is mix ready and everything is mastered and all this type of stuff. And generally when you buy that, it just never works. So, you know, it just doesn't. And so, because nobody knows ahead of time how your music is going to sound and what frequencies that you need in a track. So, you know, that's always irrelevant. So at the end of the day, there's always a lot of hard work coming from the creator, which is your side, than it is from ours. You know, we just create the source material that you can then play with to make fit to work in your music. Although, you know, when you create a sound, you've always got to take care of the kind of the ugly frequencies, so to speak, so that, you know, if people out there that buy the synth don't understand that, you know, oh, to this type of sound, you don't need to have 50 dB a gain on 60 hertz, because that would just be ridiculous. So, but you've got to kind of make it so it's kind of ready to go and ready to pop, and then you can then tailor it from there, really. So we just, you know, it is what it is. Sorry, I'm just on a complete sidetrack there. Sorry. So House 1990 you would use it, although you don't do house, but sounds like it would sit well. Yeah, it does. Again, the thing is, I find with basses is that you can easily categorize a bass, like as you just said then, like the House 1990. Like what was going through my head when writing it, it was like, okay, yeah, that sounds like something from yesteryear, you know. And so, but again, because all that music is coming back again, it's like it's a popular thing to put in, and so people would kind of use that. But here's the thing, is like, I don't think realistically that there is such thing as a multi-genre in bass, unless you're talking about things like dubstep and things like that, right? Because you can use a house bass in hip-hop, you can use a hip-hop sine wave, you know, 808 bass in rock and roll, and you can use it in country music, and I've done that. You know, it just doesn't matter, really. And so I think it's the things that are important for bass, which are the attack, which are really important, because it depends of then the difference between your kick drum and your actual bass sound, you know, which one gives more attack and which one do you want fidelity more, you know. And so I think it all depends on a lot of things, but generally I tend not to ever look at the genre. Like, you know, we didn't do it, but a lot of people out there, other providers, they will do like, oh, here's a hip-hop bass expansion, and that just doesn't make any sense to me, you know. It just doesn't, you know. Or here's an EDM bass expansion. I'm like, well, yeah, but I could use that in house music. It's just a different EQ and a different, you know, yada yada, right? So yeah, so there's lots of things that you know, that is shared, let's say. So, and likewise with ours, I think most of the stuff that we've done are perhaps safe, so that you can use it on anything you want. And I like the fact that you can sit there with any piece of music and go, you know what, I like this one, and then you don't care whether it's labeled EDM bass. You know what I mean? If it sounds right, it is right. And I just love just going through them all and just seeing, you know, and you kind of close your eyes almost and think, well, yeah, okay, that works. And that's, for me, part of it all, I think, you know, just about music in general. So, yeah, it is what it is. Thank you, Stephen, and thank you, Peter. Yeah, I mean, they sounded great. It's just, as I said, it's just, I apologize. It's something that I find very difficult to, like, when you're demoing a synth, right? You know, it's really difficult to kind of do single instruments sometimes to make them sound impressive, because they're very, like, lead sounds are very much in context with what's happening in the background, and likewise with bass is very much like that as well. And so and yeah, I could have had 30 different things on my screen to kind of go through that. You know, if I'd had more time to kind of prepare for this, then maybe in hindsight that would have probably been a better thing to do. And, you know, I apologize for that. So I've just had, let's say, a shocking last couple of days. And so I haven't had any chance or any downtime to do anything. But that's something that I can do for next time. So, you know, but with things like ethereal stuff, cinematic things, you know, drones and all that type of thing, it's really easy to demonstrate because, you know, they're designed to be kind of impactful and full sounding, you know. So and so, yeah, so even just doing a demo by itself was really difficult. And so I mean, I did do a couple of demo tracks of the basses. I think they're on Traction's website, and I just wrote in a couple of hours, I just did like 4 or 5 different genres of music that you can fit yourself into. So, you know, that was a little bit of fun, and just left everything raw. So, you know, what I don't like as well, and sorry to go off on another rant, I seem to be full of those today. All I don't like is other providers kind of doing a full mastering session on tracks that the users won't ever be able to access. And I think that's really unfair. So I don't like to do that myself. I don't like to, you know, to fake it until you make it. You know, we're not about that. So it is good. So what we do is like, look, here it is. This is what it sounds like, really raw, at the same level that you'll be able to hear it at. So there's no surprises when you get it, because I've done that before. I've listened to something, I thought, oh, that sounds great, and then I bought it and it sounds nothing like it. You know, because they've gone through it, mixed it, they've EQ'd it, they've put all sorts of nonsense on it, and then of course the track's been mastered or whatever, and then so you're hearing a much higher fidelity version than what you've bought. And so I promised myself a long time ago that I wouldn't do that, and I haven't. So it's all good. So the expansion comes with well, loads and loads of presets. They're all here, so lots of them, so that you can, you know, just obviously sort of go through and make work what you want to work. You know, everything is always editable and so on and so forth. So feel free to kind of go through and save your own and things like that. So obviously all the samples are in here as well, all tagged with EB, so you can you know, just click on the thing and here's all the samples here that you can start scratch on or do whatever, you know. We've got quite a lot of bass sounds now, stock and by the expansion. Yeah, all of these. So I mean, there must be best part of 200 or so. So far so good. It's all filling up nicely. So do you know what I mean? It would set it fine, but you don't need to justify it. I mean, I like those two. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Pete. I probably am thinking it. Yeah, you know. Yeah. See, Peter, you got the right attitude there. It's all about inspire, you know, it's like, that's the kind of the buzzword, I think. Inspiring, you know, that's kind of great, you know. I mean, you're probably the same as me. I think a lot of musicians are generally like, where we hear anything, it doesn't need to be in music. It could be out on the street, or it could be a works van, or whatever, right? And, you know, and that gets that frequency, or the sound, or the timbre of the sound just gets in your head, and you think, oh, you know, how can I use that? You know, I want to use that, and I want to get something like that, you know, and that's kind of great. And so I'm always doing that. I'm terrible for that. I must drive my family nuts. Because where is it? Oh, here it is. Here. What I do is nowadays, I don't know if you can see this. Hold on. Let me click here. Right, this guy here, right? It's a little sound recorder. Now, I don't leave the house now without this, right? Because that thing has saved my life so many times. I will literally just cancel everything I'm doing if I hear a sound I like, and I'm like, right, just hang on a second, just let it roll, you know. And a lot of that is already in Horizen, just chopped up and whatever. And I've got probably a hard drive full of just random sounds. It's kind of funny. Everything from choking ducks to cows mooing to like work trucks to city centres to McDonald's car parks to, you know, just everything. It's just whatever, because you never know, right? And I love just messing with sound, you know. And honestly, I'm sounding like a massive nerd, but it's what I do, right? It's you know, I'm a sound designer, and as a sound designer, that's just on our fingertips, and so it's just good. But it's always the impossible. I like to do the impossible, you know. So I mean, anyway, sorry, I was sort of just going off on another rant there. So what sort of music is everyone into then? You know, just generally just kind of get the ball rolling with that. So, you know, and then we can have some fun talking about some music tastes and styles. Oh, no, that's Deep Horizons, not Empire Base. There we go. So, because for me, again, what you said earlier on about the, you know, you're not thinking about genre, which I do think is important. And again, I know that I mentioned that earlier, and I think that's great. I'm like you, though. I don't like to put things in bottles, really. Not really, anyway. I mean, I know that there is a time for it, and people want that. And I think it's still important to kind of do that, definitely. But it's not something I would employ myself personally. I tend to ignore what's on the label most of the time. Again, I always like to play stuff and hear stuff. And as you said, if it inspires you, that's great. You know, that's that stuff is honestly awesome. So what I'm quite big on right now is you know, the respaces. You know, that was really huge for a while. All these kind of, you know, the big droning basses, you know, these style, you know. And I know that they were really big, and they were everywhere. I don't know, they've been around for a long time though, haven't they? For about sort of 5 or 6 years in the mainstream. But they've kind of evolved a little bit since then. Now they're not quite so subby. Now they're kind of a little bit pointy. Is that a good word to use? Pointy? And a little bit dirtier with kind of distortion on there now. And so I kind of added quite a lot of these into the Empire bass, which I think is really interesting. And they actually fit quite well in quite a lot of genre of music, you know. I tried it just for fun the other day, just on a record that I was working on at the time. It wasn't quite rock music, but it was kind of pop rock, I'd say. And I just put this sound that I've just played here now. So this one, just underneath some guitars, it was kind of clean to gritty guitars. And it just really kind of fitted in there quite well. And I remember saying to the bass player, "Oh, can we replace your bass with Horizen?" He wasn't best happy, to be honest. But you know, it would have been if it were up to me, I would have done. But unfortunately, I can't do that because it's their music, and you know, it is what it is. But yeah, it's all fun. But so I'm really into the evolved reed basses right now. So. Right, it's hard to label yourself. Okay. AOR, neo R&B, new fire, but not grunge, as well as cinematic and sound healing. So I like pads, but I try not to use them in my song. Oh, the pad game. You know, pads are very difficult to work with unless you know what you're doing. You know, so now I come from an era. Obviously, I'm a dinosaur here, but I come from an era where, all we had was monophonic synths when I was growing up. And the polyphonic synths that we had, you could only play half of a chord because you only had 4 notes, essentially. Then it rose to 6, and then really it became mainstream in the 90s with like the Korg M1 and the Triton and things like that. And then pads became a big part of my life, because they were just so glorious to listen to, And I always wanted that thing, to create something unique like pads because they were so interesting. But then back in the 90s, we didn't have all the equipment that we had today, of course. But then you would put a pad down and it would just engulf the whole song. It would just be crazy, And so I'm like you. I've always loved pads. But then I sit there and I get lost in them when I play them for hours. And then you end up sitting there going, well, how am I going to use this, And so, yeah, unfortunately, to use a pad, you've got to get rid of most of the glorious stuff that you've done. But, you just got to low pass and high pass it and take out all the goodness. A pad needs to be big sounding and, lots of bottom end and sub to it and all this type of stuff to make it awesome. But if you put that down and you put all the rest of the stuff down, you're not left with much, So it's a very difficult thing. So I know I kind of know where you're coming from. So, which is awesome. Some R&B stuff as well, which is really interesting. A little fun fact here: my son, who is 16, now in the last couple, which is a proud moment to be a father, of course, is the last few months. He's kind of really gotten himself into music, and that's cool for a father to hear that, who obviously owns a whole entire studio filled with musical equipment. I never pushed him once into it. I always said, look, if he wants to go into that music life, then he needs to go on it alone. I don't want to sit there and be one of those guys or fathers that pushes, their family into doing music and because they have to. And he grew up, he wanted a guitar, picked it up, then put it down and never played it. Likewise with drums, he did the same. And then he borrowed a keyboard off me once and learned to play a load of stuff and then put it down and wasn't interested for 3 years. And so I thought, okay, well, he's tried it and it wasn't for him. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, Dad, I want to write some music. I want to do this. I want to do that and yada, yada. So anyway, long story short, he was into R&B. And so he likes this guy called Blonde right now. And so we've been kind of doing some music on, on some quiet evenings. And I've been enjoying my time doing music with my own son, which is kind of a really nice thing to do. So there you go. It's really nice. So, yeah, pads can be glorious, but yes, exactly that. It's just engulf everything else. They seem to be too easy sometimes. One note and the mood is there. So pads might inspire me to write. I mute them. You're a cruel man, honestly. But yeah, I get you. So yeah, it's like again, just to reiterate what I was saying, it's like by the time you've got something there and it's like, oh, that's amazing, I've got to have that, you know, and you put the pad down and you're sitting there playing this beautiful pad, and then it's like, okay, now I want a top line, I want a bottom line, and you know, all this type of stuff, and it's like, no, the pad is still too big, and so you start tweaking it, and you start rolling off all the high end and the low end, and before you know it, you're left with this really thin sounding squeaky sound. You know what I mean? It's like, it's an anemic version of what was once started. It's kind of funny, really, but yeah. And then in the end, it's like, well, do I really need it anymore? Mute, you know. But on the flip side, sometimes, you know, when you do kind of cinematic stuff, especially when you write music for film, pads and cinematic sounds are exactly what you need, you know. So you know, some of the stuff that we've done with Underground is just incredible, you know, for that type of thing. And Deep Horizons is just awe-inspiring. It's got something so beautiful in them that, you know, you can just get away with one note, and you don't need to low pass and high pass and do all the sort of stuff, you know. You can just kind of go to town with it, you know. And so yeah, each to their own. It depends what you do, but yeah, in modern music I find it very difficult. Apart from synthwave you can get away with it because it's all about that. Anything 80s really, but if you're doing a lot of vocal stuff, not so much. And if you've got quite technical pieces like guitar or brass or orchestra stuff, then no, not really. It's like, it's very difficult to do, you know, so so it is what it is. So let me now just backtrack back to the Empire base, because this is what this stream is all about. So in a lot of these ones that we've done here, we've kind of taken care of business with a lot of modulation stuff to kind of, and the attack and release of things as well. Obviously that is all adjustable to the user. Some are mixed up with the normal VA synth engine that's inside Horizen, as well as some original samples and indeed some loops that we've had, or already inside Horizen, I should say. And we've also, and a lot of the times we've added the master effects to kind of get rid of the unwanteds already ahead of time, so that you don't have to, you know. And so I'm just trying to find examples of that now, because I didn't do it on everything, obviously, because you wouldn't, but on a lot of stuff I would have done, just because that's just the nature of the way things are, just generally. Yeah, okay, like here, look, on this synth I've already removed a lot of the lower information and just kind of made room for everything else, so that, you know, you guys have just got an easier time, and so it will kind of be better prepared, let's say, to fit directly into your track, so then you can then start work immediately, rather than you have to engulf your music with too much low end or too much brittleness or too much attack or whatever like that. So it's kind of standardized, I'd like to call it, which I think that's a fun word. So standardized, so that you can kind of just get up and go, you know, so, and then you can obviously tweak it from there. So Stephen, what can you tell us about Horizen's architecture? Well, what would you like to know specifically? I'm here to answer any questions that you have today, or show you anything that you need to look at. So you know, I am here for you, so ask away. But synthwave is more like what I think they tend to call motion now, versus pads, which are also called moving. And I forget the other two labels, but I more engulf in pads while the motion sounds are. Yeah, Peter, I agree. So, you know. Okay, Stephen, I'll give you a little rundown in 2 secs. Like the drum and bass, a limited range, but seems to live up, breathe, and seem to different. How do you deal with this? No, Peter, I do agree with you, by the way. I think that everything is to do with emotion now, which is why a lot of the stuff that we've done are part of our architecture, especially Lyndon as the coder, we developed all this the self-modulating system, and we put it front and center because of that very reason. The difference here between like original 80s music and today's synthwave is that back in the day, they would create like your pad sounds, and there'd be like analog pad or air pad or whatever it was, but they'd be quite static. They'd be big sounding, but they'd be quite static. As where today, they're very self-modulating, and there's something always kind of going on. It's like it's sometimes hard to put your finger on it, because obviously we have a lot more power of today using modulation systems with things like, you know, on items that detune and unison and all this type of thing, because obviously back then you didn't have the polyphony to do so. So nowadays, of course, we're infinite and we're spoiled, and we can do what on earth we want to do, you know. So our music is always evolving to be the next best thing. So anyway, to sum that up, Peter, I do agree with you, and it is all moving nowadays, and Horizen is a very, very nice place to be. And I'll show you some more of the modulation systems in a moment, so I can help with that when I talk to Stephen and show him around Horizen for the first time. So, hello Stephen. Let me give you a brief overview of Horizen. So, let me start here. So, this is Horizen, a multi-synth, a multi-voiced synth, I should say. So we have 4 samplers, which are your sample-based engine. We have 4 analog VA synthesis engine, and then we have 2 self-sample loop players as well. Now, every single one of these are independent, right? So, but yet they all have the exact same controls, okay? So, i.e., for example, sampler has its own unison engine, its own pitch engine, its controls and send effects, as well as EQ, right? So every single one of them has the same. Apart from synth has a few different options, because it has options within that. You got your virtual analog, which is your dual oscillator per each one. So realistically, that's 8 voice oscillator. So you can either have virtual analog or wavetables, which all the wavetables are displayed in here. Then to each one of these, we have it tied to the center, which is the modulation center, which you can do some fun things like modulate whatever you want by simply just dragging and dropping things and put them where you want. You know, so you can you know, draw your own shapes or whatever you want to do, and, you know, yada yada, right? And then speed things up, slow things down. You can even assign it now to a MIDI CC, so you've got channel aftertouch, so on and so forth, you know. So more on that in a little while. But anyway, to each sampler, these are a normal Rompler based synth. So obviously clicking on, sorry, let me show you again. So to each, actually, let me go to an init patch, just so it's easier. So to each sampler, there is the sound source right here. So then inside here are all the Horizen and the expansion sounds that you kind of wish to play with. So obviously you can click on any of the tagged things and then say, right, okay, I want this one. And then you can simply work with that using the controls at hand based on what it is that you want. That goes all through the 4 samplers. They're exactly the same. Likewise with the synth, you can then dial in your sounds, whether it's saw and, you know, the regular stuff. I don't need to go through that with you. And then the loop players are slightly different, where you can either, again, it's got its own browser. So we've provided millions of random samples, noisy things, hits, clicks, door openings, explosions, whatever. There's everything all in here, literally everything, and there's so much random stuff. And these are to be useful for you know, anything you want. So, you know, you drag something in and here it is right here, you know. So right here, let me zoom in so you can see it. So there we go. So it's here, and then you can obviously drag the start position around, and you can make it loop and all this kind of fancy stuff. So, you know, and not only that is you can just drag whatever you want in there. Let me show you this, right? So if I go to this screen, I think, yeah, there we go, right. So down here on the right on Studio One is all just random samples. So like if I wanted this one, which is, okay, it's a hi-hat, right? So yeah, okay, I want that. You can drag that into Horizen. So you can use your own samples. So, and then obviously play those across the keyboard, or you can turn pitch track off so that it will just play that one note continuously, like a drone note, so to speak, which is really good for doing pads and bits and pieces like that. So let me go back now to the sampler, and I'll go back to my other screen. There we go. Right, so so to each, yeah, okay, all right, good stuff. So anyway, all of that is as it is. Then you've got your just quickly, this is a quick overview. So then you've got your arpeggiator, which is split into two groups. So you can have two arpeggiators running at once. So you just have to say, right, up one, I want you know, sampler 2, synth 2, and loop 1, and into this one I want this one and loop 2, and then, you know, they'll play different things basically. So, you know, or you've got the chord progression systems, which is in most synths these days, so don't need to explain those to you. And then the FX, which is, you've got 3 different types. You got your note effects, which is self-explanatory really, with all what these do. Then you send effects, which is all your effects on here from, you know, tape delays, whatever. And then obviously, as long as you've got the sound selected, you can then just say, right, I want more of that, and then you turn it up, and that is independent to that one voice. So you can only send tape delay to this sample right here based off this knob right here, you know. And then sampler 2 won't get that because we haven't set that, although we can. Then the expansion stuff is just all of that. And then obviously you got the master effects, which is nothing to do with sends. That's on global, that's on everything. So that's after the sends. So the sound comes in, it goes through. Now look at me pointing to my screen, you can't even see that. It comes in, it goes into the channel, goes all through here, goes through the sends, and then hits the master. So that's that, and then it hits the output stage, which is some more effects on here. So which we've got some saturation, so you can have that on everything global, as well as soft clip distortion if you want. Transient manager, again, optional, and then a limiter, which I would always recommend putting it on because digital distortion is always nasty, and you know, not the best way to listen to music. So so that's just a safety limiter, it's not a compressor. So it's a peak limiter really. And that's it really. As I said, everything really gets controlled by this section here. This is where all the heart and the soul is of everything, because, you know, you can apply this to many different things, and you can modulate things in wonderful ways, in multiple ways. Super easy, you know. So hopefully that's been a bit more helpful. If you'd like me to expand on something, Stephen, then I'll happily do so. So just ask in the chat and I'll happily ask you. Thank you, Stephen. What did Peter say before? Peter, great point. LFOs, I guess. By the way, why does Cubase have an LFO plugin to mod a synth when synths have that built in better? Yeah, I know, Peter. It's... Yeah, I think that LFO stuff is more to do with if you're using like an already sampled instrument, you know, like a sample of some kind, then you could then put an LFO onto that. And some synths, like some of the earlier synths, their LFO section was quite limited. You know, it was either on or off, you know, or only did certain timings, you know, so maybe it's useful for that. But generally, generally I don't kind of buy into that stuff, you know. I don't understand why DAWs have a lot of stuff they have, so it doesn't ever make sense to me. But I mean, I use Studio One, which is kind of, you know, well, now I use it. You know, as well, Pro Tools didn't have anything because Pro Tools just didn't care about anyone apart from money in their back pocket. So I switched to Studio One, and then I kind of had everything, too much so. And then I was like, whoa, you know, this is too much. So most of the stuff I don't use in Studio One is, you know, I'm, I guess, old school in the sense that I prefer to do everything at source until I'm happy with it. And then I like to bounce it down and then maybe affect it after the fact, you know. So it depends on the way I want to work. You know, there's lots of different ways. There's no straightforward answer to that. There's no kind of right or wrong either. You know, it depends of how you want to do it, I think, you know. So you've always just got to be your own judge and just go with what is natural for you, I think, you know. So and that's all there is to it, really. So now this layout here, hold on a minute. I've noticed something in the background. Let me switch to this. Oh, okay. I don't know what that was. Because I noticed that this was a project I did for the last stream I did. And I never got to use it because the mail shot didn't work. So I really want to know what this is. And I'm terrified that I'm going to embarrass myself if I press play. Because I might do. It might be terrible. And I haven't labelled anything, which is very unlike me. It just got Horizen everywhere. So obviously I've used Horizen. You know what? Let's just... Oh, well, I've already embarrassed myself today, so let's just press play, see what happens. Okay, I remember that one. I did it last stream I was going to do, which we did the underground stuff. And remember what I said earlier on about doing the bass stuff, where I would, you know, get myself all prepared for? Well, that's what I did for the last stream, and then because we messed up with the mail shot, and the timing of everything, which meant that I went live and then the mail shot went out to everyone, so no one saw the stream. So it was not a good look. That was what I prepared myself, and then I was going to just go through everything with everyone. But yeah, so there we go. We were prepared last time with no one showing up because no one knew about it. So ironic, but hey, it wasn't too embarrassing, but it is what it is. So I'll tell you what is embarrassing is not being comfortable in my own room when I'm streaming, you know. I mean, I'm not a streamer and I don't ever would say that I am, but the times when I do this, it's like, because I don't have a proper setup like how a streamer would or a YouTuber would. And so my keyboard was all the way over to the side here, which, because my headphones won't reach over there, because the way my headphones has to plug into my Neve desk, which is in an awkward place. But I don't know why they put the control hub underneath the desk, so the cable's quite far out. But as soon as I stretch around, it pulls on my ears, so it's really uncomfortable. Really, what I needed it to be kind of here. And that would be really, really good. So normally if I'm writing and composing, the keyboard is here. So, but if it's here, then I can't reach over and get to everything. So I have to kind of put it to one side, which is a little bit frustrating. But so I need to do a better job, really. So that's what I'm basically saying, you know, so... You're using... Oh, what do you think of the VSX headphones? I'll be interested in your opinion of that. Because they're the ones by Slate, are they not? The VSX stuff. So, as far as I know, anyway. Let me just switch screens. I want to check something. Yeah, I heard that before. I heard someone say that it did take a long time to get used to using VSX, because technically you're using a completely different room. Is that right? It models the room, doesn't it? So, and so you're kind of mixing into someone else's space, you know. That must be kind of weird, I'm not gonna lie. It's really, really strange. I mean, I guess that's acoustic profiling, isn't it? So, because we had a guy here, I mean, I wish I could show you the room that is over there, but my camera won't reach there. But to my left, over here, there's a massive glass window, and then that looks into the live room. And our room was profiled a long time ago. Some guy came along with lots of clever equipment that I didn't understand, was talking maths at me, which I also don't understand. So it was not a very clever conversation at all. So I just smiled and went, mm-hmm. And he just went off and did what he had to do. And so, yeah, our room was profiled. So maybe it was something like that. So, yeah, you know. Yeah, I get you, Blade. But yeah, I've got one problem with headphones, though, and that's that, I mean, I use these headphones, which... are the DT990 Pros. And they're good headphones. They're great for music, but I find it really, really awkward to mix with headphones on. So, because I don't like the fact that the music is so close to me, I've got no sense of real depth, you know, so, but I don't need to, because I have a controlled room, and the room is designed for acoustics and designed for music, so I don't necessarily need that. But I can understand how great things like the VSX headphones can be for people that don't have £1 million to spend on a recording studio. So, you know, if it works and if it translates well, then that is an awesome thing, you know, and technology nowadays has come on so far that you can easily do things like that. And I think that is just mind-blowing and incredible, to be honest. I mean, let's be honest, trying to treat a room nowadays is awkward and a lot of money. what you like is you can plug them into your MacBook Pro and on a couch and in the same studio. Yeah, I agree with you. You know, you can, and that's the thing. You know, you can pretty much just be anywhere you want to be. You know, so which is kind of incredible. Hello, Stark. How you doing? It's been a while since I spoke to you. I'm struggling to get all sorts of kinds of comfortable today. I'm really sorry. I'm making awkward noises, so, you know. But Blade Runner, seriously, I find that really incredible. I'm not going to lie. You know, having something that you can comfortably do what effectively I can do in the studio is, I just find that just such a brilliant thing, you know. And I've heard a lot of whiz bang about the Slate VSX stuff, so you know, and it's nice to know that they actually work as well. So, and it's not just all hype. So, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, for me, it's crazy to think about, you know, because obviously I've had the pleasure to obviously record and mixing in tons of real studios, and so I understand that every studio sounds differently, but the end result is still the same. You know, they translate, and then all of a sudden, you know, you can take all of that information and put it in a box, so to speak, and then you're mixing in it via your own, you know, living room or bathroom. It doesn't matter where you are. You know, and you've got that same sound, and that to me is just genius, you know. And I believe in, like, it doesn't matter how you get there. The journey's not important. It's the final destination that is. Damn, that made me sounded wise. Stop that. So, yeah. So it is what it is. So while we're sitting here just talking generally about music, which I think is great, by the way, I love just nerding out about music and things like that in general. I think it's awesome. But if anyone has questions about Horizen and things, please just put them in the chat, and I'll hopefully help you. Well, you can ask anything, actually. At this point, it doesn't matter. Let's just all get to know one another. So, you know, anyone is free to answer any questions you want to. I am randomly just clicking on my desktop. I better put myself back to this one so you can actually see what we're talking about, which is Horizen. So, you know, oh, let's make it prettier. Let's make it go up. There we go. It's now full screen. By the way, we are, just to quickly divert things, I know it's not implemented properly yet, but if you notice here, we've got selected skin, and at the moment there is not any. So we will be adding some additional skins, like so that this color is pink, and you know, this is neon green for those synthwave people. So yeah, it can be slightly different. All right, so we're going to work on some stuff. So you know. Okay, Peter, consider it done. Let me see, what drone base are we talking about, because I have a lot of them. So it is, I think it was the one down here. I think it was the Risa one here. I think this is the one you're talking about. Oh no, not that one. Oh wait, I'm on the wrong sound. Hang on a minute. My bad. Let me switch to this. Alright, there we go. Now I can play the right sound. Was it that one? Is that the one you're talking about? Okay, fine. Let me go to it. Is this one here? Okay. So, okay. Well, this one is actually more simple than you think. So, I'll break it down for you. So what we got going on first of all. So it looks like I didn't use any samples, so it's purely coming from, it's purely coming from our synth engine, and because realistically, respaces are always saws. So, so that was obviously the best start that I could run with. And again, it's really quite simple to do. Remember what we were talking about earlier on, Peter, about everything having modulation and some kind of movement and whatnot, right? And basically I was looking for that specific thing. So, and you hear that movement, right? So, and the way you do that is how I've set that up is via the unison down here. So I've detuned it by a whole lot amount, actually, by 0.5 cent, 0.5. So, which is quite a lot, but it's not actually using all of that detune, you see. It's running off an LFO 1, which is here. So it's actually using probably, well, what's the percentage here? So it's 47% of this, whatever that math is, right? So it's at 0, so it doesn't do any detuning, then slowly detunes over time, gets to its peak, and then obviously starts coming back again. So that is what's doing that. So if I turn that off, then it's just dead straight. You know what I mean? Then it's just a saw wave, which is not that interesting. So, so now just adding that subtle modulation means everything to me. You know, obviously you can really push that to limits. You know, and then obviously it starts to sounding weird. So I have 6 voices that detune. The spread is completely wide. You know, and then you obviously adjust the depth to wherever you want it to be, based on what you want, you know. So no, just yeah, there's 6. Yeah, so yeah, it's a really, really good way of doing it. And then on the actual saw itself, if I take the filter off, then you'll just hear the standard saw wave. Just here. So anyway, that's just very basic to saw wave. So as it is, as it comes, just a little bit of attack, a little bit of release, and then the filter is actually just. I didn't want to modulate the filter because I wanted a hard cutoff, because I wanted the modulation to be static. Sorry, I wanted the filter to be static with the modulation running into the filter. So that's why the filter here is just. I've lowered obviously the filter. Just put a small little bump for the higher frequency around where I wanted it to be, you know. You know, and then you can then obviously fiddle with it from there. But I mean, obviously what would be a good thing to kind of do from there is like if you put LFO3 here and turn that up, and then say, right, I want it to go up to down. Let's put it on a one-shot mode. Then if you put it to CC 129, I don't know, let's put it at 121. And then if I now press and hold, so now obviously you can obviously modulate the filter as well if you wanted to, just by key press. I mean, that was just a really quick example, but you can fade that in so it's nicer and smoother, and you know. or whatever it is you want to do. Anyway, so then I added sorry, that was voice 1, so it's just the saw wave, and on the second one, yeah, there we go, I added a bit of noise, with it sounds like a tiny little bit of saw mixed in with that, and then I'm adjusting the filter here, as you can see. And that just modulates the volume up and down, just again give it a little bit of depth and movement. Nothing on 3. Oh, sorry. Yeah, on 3 is just a sine wave, doing nothing but just bottom end for the wreath, and that is it. Yeah, the noise is a big thing for me with anything like this, because if you play the sound with it, you can't really hear it, right? Not really, but you can hear it, of course, on this instance, if you play it in a track, you wouldn't be able to hear that. But as soon as you then mute that, it becomes a completely different sound, you know? Then you bring it back. And it's just adorable. I love it, you know. And with the synth 2, with this one, with the noise, I took off a whole load of low end that we don't need, because otherwise you hear that, all that sub information, just don't need it. So I took care of that. You know, and that was it. And then it looks like on the synth 1, I gave it a little bump at probably around about 300 hertz or so, just to kind of help that saw wave narrow itself down a little bit. So yeah, so that's pretty much how I kind of did that one, really. And then what else did I add to it? Oh yes, I added a little bit of saturation by the looks of it. Obviously the limiter, no transient, and yeah, it looks like I added a little bit of distortion to it just on the output. So just a tiny bit though. So you know, you can enable or disable that, depends. And then for effects, did I put anything on here? Yeah, just a tiny bit of chorus. So it's not actually doing anything. It's 1%. So not really needing much effects with bass, to be honest. So yeah, so not much is going on there really. So yeah. So yeah, if anything else you'd like to see while we are here and live and smacking. Yeah, creating respaces is, as I said, one of my favourite things to do at the moment, because it's so popular and everyone uses them in everything. It's just, and it's one of those sounds that you can use in everything, and you know, it's acceptable to use as well. And so I think that's a good thing as well, because acceptable because it just works. You know, it's one of those things that just work regardless. You can use it behind a real bass if someone's sitting there sort of chugging away using it. You can use it in obviously a lot of house tracks and dance tracks, a lot of R&B, a lot of soul. Crikey, you could probably even use it in jazz if you could get away with it. You know, why not, right? You know, which bass do you like programming on most? I don't know really. See, it's a very difficult question to answer, because here's my honest answer is, I love doing pretty much anything to do with sound. I am meticulous and very thorough in what I do, and the way I do things is my own style, if you see what I mean. And realistically, people that buy Horizen are buying into what I believe sounds to be, you know. And so my interpretation of how this type of thing should be, right? Because let's be honest, there's 10,000 synthesizers out there in the world, but realistically, they all kind of do the same thing. And so the only difference is the way it looks and the way it sounds. And that's all to do with, realistically, the sound designer behind the machine and the way the programming team have collated and got together and made it possible for the sound designers to do what is possible. You know what I mean? And so obviously the coders are the ones to thank behind all that, because they're the brainiacs behind everything, to give the tools and to provide the tools in the first place to do things. But for me, generally, I can't ever pick a favorite. I mean, I personally, if I had to, if I was, you know, gun pointed to my head, I would probably say I love doing all the kind of the drones and the cinematic things, because they're incredibly interesting to do. And I love making sounds out of noise, you know? So, like, for example, let me go to here. So, I don't know, I'm just loading up a random sound. I know you got my mic bleeding all the way through that, which really isn't pleasurable, but, you know, you get the idea. So, you know, things like that, for me, are probably one of my favourite things to do, because they're interesting and I get to go a little bit crazy. More crazy than what you would with a bass or a lead sound or something like that, you know, which you have to kind of keep relatively traditional to some point. You know, but that doesn't take away from anything. I mean, I love doing a bass equally as I like doing an atmospheric sound and a crazy sound, but it's just there's more to it on things like a pad, an atmospheric drone or something like that, because obviously there's a lot more going on. You see what I mean? You're dealing with many, many layers of things, and you're dealing with you know, loops and crazy things and things like that, you know. On a few VSTs you've programmed, you're limited to knob ranges to retain the character. In my mind, maybe it's a bad approach. It means you get results or Okay, I'm with you, Peter. Yeah, I mean, absolutely, I agree. And to some points, there are limitations, and sometimes I don't agree with those limitations, but sometimes I also understand why they have the limitations that they have in there, you know? So, because 9 times out of 10, the way you've got to approach things is that you, as the user, may be more advanced at doing what you're doing than 90% of people out there who don't. And if you create a synth that is far complicated, that's super, super in-depth, then you're not going to appeal to the masses that are going to be buying your product. So people limit things for a reason. Then they, you know, that way they've got a scapegoat of saying, look, you know, our synth is not complicated, but they're alienating the 2% of people out there that are really, really invested in creating something unique and being mega sound designers, right? So, you know, it is what it is. So, yeah, there are limitations in place in some things. Some there isn't. I mean, we've got some limitations, obviously, but not because of choice, but because it physically is a limitation. You know, and we're always trying to overcome that. How do we kind of break that limitation? What can we do instead, or whatever? You know, it's how do you look at it? Is the glass half full or half empty? You know, so okay, apricot bass is here. so annoyingly loud. Okay, sorry, playtime over. Right, break this down. Okay, what did I do? I don't know. Okay, so, looks like, oh, alright, well, I used quite a few different things. So, these are samples. So, the first sample is this, whatever this one is. So there's that one by itself. Then the second one is the vibra pluck. So there's a plucky sound. So that's kind of cool. I like that. So what was going through my mind at the time? Why did I call it apricot bass? I don't know. It's just one thing. One thing, guys. You know, hello, Agura. How are you doing? Been a while since I've seen you. Yeah, the naming that I come up with is just bizarre. Just I don't know what is going on. It's one of the hardest things, guys. Trying to come up with when you're doing like hundreds and hundreds of sounds. You know, you kind of, you know, when you're doing something, you think, "What am I going to call this thing?" And whatever comes to your head is kind of what sticks. And so, apricots came into my mind when I did this. So it's kind of like a bizarre thing. So anyway, so what was I thinking of when I was doing this? Right, well, you see, traditionally with bass, you don't put reverb on bass, obviously, because it's a bottom end and nobody likes tons of reverb bass. But so why did I put reverb on it then, I hear you say? Well, because sometimes a bass, if it's a plucky-esque bass, you can kind of get away with it in a minimalistic track, something like an R&B track or a soul track or something like that you can kind of get away with it, or again like an 80s song as well. Don't forget, you can do that. So if you can imagine like an electric piano playing the chords, you know, so oh, I can't do it with a plucky sound, can I? But, you know, if you've got some electric piano or something playing just minimalistic chords to kind of carry the song, then you can then utilize the bass and the bottom attack of the bass to kind of carry the melody to go along with the drums, right? And so that was my insight into this one and why I added reverb to it in the first place, because I thought that it gave the sense of the sound space. Now, what I did do here is there's not too much modulation going on, but I've got obviously a little bit of reverb happening. Oh, yeah, it looks like I've added the LFO, this guy, to the effects return right here. I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, so I've added it to the return of the effects. So I think on this sound, yeah, okay. Okay, it only makes a small adjustment, and I think I know why I did it. Is just to duck, yeah, because it ducks the sound a tiny bit before the reverb hits, so I'm not getting all of the reverb in at the sound, you know, so it just helps it kind of carry itself a little bit. That's all why I've done that. Yeah, you can do it. You know, it's kind of mixed results. Sometimes it kind of works, depending on the sound. It's like one of those things to certainly experiment with, you know, and you can just kind of have fun with it. But yeah, so just generally, I've used a on this sound a filter envelope, because that's the sound originally, and then I've just plucked it up basically. So quite a mid frequency range in the filter by the looks of things, that's movable. Yeah, so just something quite pleasant. I mean, I think with this, because I added reverb, I didn't want to put extra unison on there to make it super wide, because I wanted the bass to be really narrow. I wanted the bass to be really narrow, but then the effects to be kind of spread out wide. So just the reverb sends was wide, but the bass was still in the middle for mono, if you see what I mean. So, which is kind of a nice thing to do. If you wanted the filter on the mod wheel, that is easy. Yes, very easy. So all you do is this frequency here. So you'd right click, learn MIDI CC. All mine's assigned right now, so I don't know if this will work, but I'll try it on mine. So, yep, there you go. You can see the frequency moving. Look, no hands. So yeah, you just have to map it. You can map everything you want. So, you know, if you already want. And you can edit the range. Yes, you can. So now if you go to the input here, right here, so you can then say your min and max right here. So, you know, so you can have what you want added. So yeah, there is that. So you can do anything you want to. And now I've just got to reset that back. So yeah, so just generally you'll find that with basses that you kind of want to, I find anyway, unless they're Reese basses, otherwise basses get obnoxious quickly. So amount of times that you'd want a shorter bass rather than a longer bass is obviously optional, of course. But generally I find if you're needing to have a really long bass, which is the kind of the Reese flavor for 90% of the time, then you would have the short plucky kind of basses that will kind of give a groove and a melody. Then these kind of basses work really well for the majority of that kind of music, especially if you've got a really nice sort of drum groove going on that you can kind of just vibe to, you know what I mean? So then that would just be a lot of fun, you know, especially for that kind of disco era kind of music, you know. It's just great, it's fun, you know. And then you modulate the frequency. See, I like personally, I don't ever record with, like, for example, how you just said here, like on the frequency here. Oh, I've just disabled it. But anyway, on the frequency here, let me remove that. It's nice to have things on my mod wheels and my controller, but I'm using the Native Instruments Control keyboard, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't like it. It's very limited. I don't like the feel of all the knobs on there, and things like that. I got it because I'm stuck with their ecosystem, and I have been for a while. So it is what it is, you know. So I tend not to really put anything on there because you're very limited. However, I tend to do everything after the fact in Studio One. So, and here's a fun little tip for you in Studio One. I don't know if anyone knows this, but or if anyone cares, but I'm going to quickly show you now I've said it. So the good thing is, like, here is my lane which I'm working on. This is the Horizen, and if I wanted to, you know, do the frequency, then all I got to do is touch this knob right here. Then this little hand, I can just drag it down here, and now I can fully automate as you can see here, the frequency, you know what I mean? So that's all I ever do. I just do everything now in my DAW and just do it that way. And so now, you know, you can literally just go to town with this in real time if you wanted to, or you can assign this to what you can't see in front. I've got a little SSL control thing over here that's planted inside a Neve desk, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But hey, let's not talk about that. But you know, the point is you can do things like that. So with anything possible is kind of, you know, movable or anything like that within Horizen. Because the thing is, and I'm okay to say this because it's something I either sometimes do and I sometimes don't. It depends of how accurate I need to be. So what I tend to do is if I'm if I need something completely time aligned, like completely synced, like if you're working with a movie that has to have something to the exact millisecond, then obviously I've got trust in the timing of this, but it's a lot easier to control in the real world here when this isn't randomly playing. You see what I mean? So although this will sync to your DAW, but sometimes if you then bounce down the file, bouncing, sometimes it gives a pre-roll before and after whether you want it to or not. And so sometimes it will start it a millisecond before or something like that, and sometimes it's not 100% accurate, and it's nothing to do with Horizen, it's any synth. We've had trouble like that in the past, so we tend to bounce it down first and then see if it works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And then if not, then we just have to program it like this, which takes seconds. So it's like, it's really, really easy to do. So, and so it's always good to kind of learn every possible way possible, you know. So you use Studio One, okay, nice one. So Studio One is like, honestly, it's starting to oppress me more and more, you know. So my Studio One, and I've just spent at one point I spent a good 3 days creating a template, like a full-on recording mixing template in my session. This isn't it, because this is just you know, my streaming template, but basically it was awesome, and now it just does everything for me, which is incredible, you know. So you know, Logic, yes, Logic is very good, but I don't have a Mac, I'm on PC, so Logic is kind of useless to me. So you know, but I have heard good things. I've heard that Logic is a little bit unstable at times, but I've heard it's very good. You use Studio One also? I use Ableton for 2 years, but no more. See, Ableton is really good for creating things, but it kind of stops there for me. I got really frustrated with Ableton trying to finish something. You know, I found it great to do scratch ideas or like create weird sounds and things like that and manipulate things. I found it really intelligent for that. But then taking it further after that, I just found it really frustratingly slow and annoying, to be honest. So, but look, the point is with all DAWs, you've got your positive stuff and you got your negative stuff. What I want is one day for someone to come along and go, right, these are all the DAWs, so let's take the best stuff out of Pro Tools. Well, wait, there is no good stuff out of Pro Tools anyway. Let's take the best stuff out of Studio One, Cubase, Bitwig, Ableton, whatever, right? And then combine all of those to one amazing DAW and just make it work, you know what I mean? And oh, that would be fantastic, you know. So it's you know, that'd be sick. See, Bitwig, I loved Bitwig, right? Bitwig I thought was awesome. So and I would have been happy with Bitwig, because that was, I tried, because after I left Pro Tools, I was a Pro Tools user since day dot, really. but they're just annoying and dinosaurs, and they just don't move, and they're just hideously expensive for what it is. So I kind of quit that. And then I was looking around at DAWs, so I tried all of them. I tried Ableton, which was great, but it didn't stick. Cubase, which I used to use before Pro Tools back in the day, but it just felt just backwards for me somehow. I don't know. I can't explain the feeling I got. I just didn't vibe with it. Then I tried Bitwig, which I really liked a lot. I thought it was fantastic, the things you can do in that. It was easy to use as well. And then I tried Studio One. And I think I loved Studio One for the fact of that it sped up my workflow 10 times, because I could just drag and drop everything all over the place and just be really, really super quick with it as well. And just, yeah, absolutely just insane. It was lovely to use. And the problem I had with Bitwig was it wasn't so good in a multi-output environment, as in, like, for example, going to this console. You know, I've got 48 channels to go through, and Bitwig didn't kind of operate it in a very pleasant way. It was quite cumbersome and confusing, as where Studio One's quite easy, you know. But yeah, that, each to their own. You know, I'm never going to knock any DAW. They're all the same thing at the end. It's how you want to work, you know, so. Peter says, I can't see a composite DAW working. It would be so complicated. I think it's great we have a choice of flavors. No, I mean, yeah, I was kind of kidding when I said that, but yeah, I agree too. It's nice to have flavors. They all do different things and they do them well, but it's just like, it's only a matter of time, and someone does come along and just literally just takes the best out of all and just makes one great big DAW, and just it works, you know. So the thing I don't like is all this camps of people. Oh, Cubase is the best DAW in the world, but no, Pro Tools is the best DAW in the world, but no, Studio One is the best, but no, Bitwig is the best. You know what I mean? It's like, there is no such thing, guys, as the best DAW. It's whatever you feel more comfortable with, but it doesn't make it the best. It just makes it better for you. End of story. That's as far as I'd say. I think, you know, it just, some things will work for you, some things won't, and that's the choice that you got to live with. But if Sony is the most Horizen taking features from several players, yeah, I mean, yes. Well, considering that it looks just like Pro Tools, it acts like Pro Tools, with it's got some Cubase features in it as well as some other. So literally, they've just copied everyone else's ideas. I agree fully. I fully agree with you. You know, it's not. But the thing is, they've copied it, but they didn't copy it as good as in some cases, you know. And so you're left with a kind of like, oh, you didn't quite hit it right, you know. And so, and unfortunately, with my only downfall of Studio One is so much clutter everywhere, you know. And it's just annoying to work with for stuff that I don't want, you know. You have a folder with different web samples, short and some longer, let's say every 30 seconds. When I add those folders in Horizen, I use something to make Horizen so slow, it's mad. Oh, Algira, I think I have a fix for you for that. Potentially. Although, I don't know if we're talking about the same thing. Wait. So, when you say it makes... Is it making Horizen itself slow, right? So let me grab a sample here, right? So I have nothing in here. So let me just grab anything random here, right? So... Okay, but this is this might be too long. It's a 9-minute sample, but whatever. Right, well, there's a sample here. So, oh yeah, sorry. So, okay. Yeah, let's turn pitch track off, shall we? So, I mean, that's a sample. That's you know, is what it is. So, what sort of problem are you having? Let's just drag in something else. Okay, that's a snare sample. So let's turn loop off. By the sounds of it, I have a folder with different WAV samples, short and some longer, let's say over 30 seconds. When I add those folders in Horizen in the user sample section, it makes Horizen so slow. I have a very powerful PC and AMD blah 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 that would work in the Studio One, but other plugin VST is 50 instances. But when I do, like I explained above, I can open 3 instances of Horizen. Okay, right. Okay, there is a problem at the moment, and it's not. This is a Studio One thing at the moment, and I know what you're talking about. Okay. Let me try and recreate that, right, and see if and you can tell me if it's the same thing, okay? So, it's not anything to do with samples, by the way. It's to do with Horizen. Sorry, with the OpenGL engine, right? So, if I, for example, put on this effect, right? Right. See here. Right. Now. Wait, let me go into the other. I might need to drag this across. Yeah, okay. Let me drag this across so you can see. Right, at the moment, like, look at this. Oh, you probably can't see this here, but at the moment, Horizen is really chugging across the screen. It's like almost glitching across the screen, right? It's so slow, right? But now, there we go. It's perfectly normal again now. So it's delagged itself and everything is fine, right? See here, right, on the fader on Studio One. See the VU meter, right? Yeah, it works normal, right? Now look. See, it doesn't work, yes? Because it's just lagged. It's lagged like crazy and like, oh, it's horrible, right? So what you want to do is the sound might have an EQ with it, okay? Just right click and take off Enable Spectrum Analyzer. Voila. And here as well. Okay? That's all you got to do. And then it will be fine. So check in Master FX. If it's got an EQ, disable Spectrum Analyzer, and likewise just here, and everything will be good. Okay, yeah, Algera, I don't understand why it would do that, apart from what I've just mentioned, but yeah, I don't know, unless, have you got streaming mode set to fast SSD? On your setting? And I'm assuming the drive is obviously an SSD in the first place. Otherwise, it will stream it very slowly. So. Okay, fine. All right. Well, it might be, but do check that you've disabled Spectrum Analyzer on the EQ on those loop ones. I'm not saying that it is that by any stretch of the imagination, but just check that first, because I know that is a problem at the moment, and there is a fix coming. Studio One have acknowledged it. That was some OpenGL applications or front end that there is a problem with it, so they will be fixing it. So, but it's a workaround for now. I don't know why as to why yours is running slow in that sense, because it really shouldn't. It makes no difference. I mean, mine doesn't at all. I can drag a million samples in here and it would be fine. So, All I can think of is that, yeah, your graphic analyzer is taking up the juice in Studio One. The other options that you've got here are making sure that your DPI mode is set to 100% here. Okay, but the clean mode will also have this enabled. This is what I'm saying. So that's why you've got to disable it manually. So if you've got that enabled, it will lag like crazy no matter what you put in it. So no, it's all good. I like to have problems that we can fix, but it's just slightly alarming when you said that. So, but I've got a feeling it is that. But do try that, please, and then let me know next time, because if not, then we can investigate it, and we can then take it from there. We'd much rather have a solution to something than just keep you guessing. You know what I mean? So yeah, we're there for you, brother. We got you, all right? So, all right. Look, guys, I've been streaming for 2 hours by me talking nonsense, and I'm sure you're all incredibly bored with my voice by now. So, do you have anything else you wish me to explain, to go through? I'm happy to do whatever you want me to do. And obviously for those that haven't liked and subscribed, please subscribe, because we're trying to get our subscriber count up so that we can then generate our own user base. So then we can do more and more videos about Horizen and cool things. So, and then obviously it's better, right? It is better and better and better. So do subscribe. I sound like a YouTuber. Like and subscribe, so let's not go down that route, please. Okay. And if, just putting this out there, okay, and please leave a comment in the comments below if you want to see me. We can write a track on stream. I will just stream basically, and I'll write some music. I'll take requests of what genres to do it in. I'll do anything, and just we'll just bumble around together and just do some vibes. So that would be kind of great. If you want to see me do that, that's fine. I can do it. If not, then no worries. It's all good. Yeah, I know what you mean. As I was saying at the start, Gura, it's really difficult because obviously we're a small dev company, plus I've got a studio to run, so it's really difficult to kind of find the time to kind of stream and things like that. I really want to do more. It's just very difficult to do. In reality, something has to kind of give. But I keep on wanting to do more. As I said, there's another one coming up again soon, because we've got the other expansion to do, which I'll do next. And there's so many things that I want to do with Horizen on stream and show people so many different things. But yeah, it's just finding the time to do these sort of things, Blade Runner, I'd love to get more followers in here. Trust me, I would. It's just, but the thing is like, here's the thing: is like when we were, because obviously we were snapped up by Traction, and then they kind of control all the email shots and the website and everything like that. So we're kind of third-partied in the sense that we're just the developers, and we don't really get in touch with our audience, if that makes sense. So I started to do all these streams so that we can gather our own little fan base, so that we've got someone to preach to rather than having to rely on them all the time. Because if we want to do something, like, we have to then schedule it with them to do something, if that makes sense. So it kind of complicates life a little bit. And so it would be nice just to sort of build up an audience on here, and then be like, you know what, I've got a couple of hours, let's just drop and say hi to the community and do something cool, and give stuff away and whatever and things like that. So but at the moment we're kind of brick walled behind that, which is nothing wrong with that. It's just, I'm just saying that we'd like to also grow our own legs as well, and and not have to hassle them all the time, because it makes us feel bad that we have to reach out to them all the time and they're busy and you know, whatnot. So, you know, so I'm with you, Blade. I'm with you. But yeah, I mean, if anyone's watching, just hit the subscribe button. It's really easy. And you know, and that's it. It doesn't cost you anything. So it's all free. You know, talking is cheap and free, but you know. But anyway, look, I'll wrap up here then if anyone else has got anything else to say. But I will wait, let me read what this says. The issue is I have with it being on Traction is you can't transfer their plugins when you are done with like 90% of plugin sellers. I don't know anything about that. So I'm not really involved in their business, if you see what I mean. So we just you know, we do our own thing here. We are the synth factory essentially, and we just do our thing, and then we deliver the deliverables to them, and they kind of take it from there. So, you know, look, Traction have been really good to us, so we've got no reason to complain. It's just, as a young, small development team that we are, you know, we want to do the best we can, and sometimes it's difficult because we don't get first-hand interaction with the customer base. You know, we only do it via support calls or something like that, and it's sometimes very awkward. And so this is the only kind of FaceTime I get with people, you know, so. I see what you mean, Blade. Yeah, I see what you mean. So I don't know whether there's a work around that. I mean, you might want to email support and ask them if there's a way around that. So I don't know, you know, question mark. So, I mean, there could be something different. Or there might be a different way of doing it. I don't know. I honestly can't tell you because that's not part of my domain, you know. Oh yeah. No, don't sell our plugin, all right, Blade. You're an important part of our community. Just, I forbid you. You're over there, right? I forbid you. Don't do it. You know, you turn up every stream. You're part of the fam. So you know, it's all good. Can us user make our own pack? Let's say each contributor makes 1 to 5 presets and make a pack from the world. I don't know. Just saying. Agree. Yes, you can, but not right now. However, I've been discussing this internally, and it's something that I want to do on our... I know this is going to sound crazy, but I want to kind of stream a lot more and to reach 500 subscribers on our own channel. And when we get to 500 subscribers, and this is all written down, this isn't just off the top of my head, I want to do a community pack. By that, I mean that I would reach out to people who follow the stream and say, look, come up with 10 of your best presets using the stock sounds of Horizen. Do your best. Send them to me. We'll package them all up, and we'll give that away free to the world, basically. So it's just a way of just contributing. Everyone will have their name and their credit on it, so on and so forth. So, yeah, there is something that we do plan to do, you know, for that type of thing, you know. It's a good idea, Peter. You should be my PR manager. That's great. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, I like the idea of, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think, in my opinion, again, correct me if I'm wrong, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, of course, but in my opinion and my experience in life and music and whatnot, it's all about the people that you're with, your community that you're working within, that can help as an overall, you know, you're all one product, right? And so I would love to lean on the community a lot more in lots of different ways, to do not just preset challenges, but music challenges and you know, show and tell systems and things like this, where we can kind of do a lot more with our members to make it a fun place to be, where we all share one thing in common, which is our love of good music, you know. So, you know, and that's totally fine. And, you know, I'd love to do kind of things like that, but to do that, I need to see channel growth and to make it worthwhile, and, you know, so on and so forth, because obviously that's a lot of time investment to do these type of things, which I am trying to get to, don't get me wrong. You know, I'd love to stream a lot more. You know, it sounds like from the feedback I've had from people sending me emails and stuff that they want to see more of me as well, which is strange because my wife doesn't want to see any of me, but yeah, random people on the internet do, which is great. So, you know, there is that. So, you know, I do have a Discord. And we populated it at one point, and then I ran into troubles with Discord because it was slowing Studio One down. And I was like, and so I disabled it and then uninstalled it, and I haven't installed it again since. So this is something that I am kind of working around in the background to try and reach out more to you guys and just to the community general. But as you can understand, trying to grow a channel when I'm a busy developer as well is really difficult, because I need to put in my investment as well. And to do that, and then I come on and there's, you know, 3 or 4 viewers, it makes the challenge non-worthy without a sense of growth. You see what I mean? But it's been the same every time I stream at the moment. There's the same amount of people there, which is awesome, because I love everybody that comes to stream. I'm that type of guy, you know. But we need to have additional growth, and without being branched out on our own, we can't get that. And this is where this brick wall comes from with between ourselves and Traction, you know, where it's difficult to kind of grow because they own the keys, you see what I mean? And so it's really tough. So yeah, you know, and nowadays on websites you can't self-advertise either, and it's like, oh, it's tough. It's a tough world, you know. It really, really is. And so just generally, I find that music streams don't do awfully well out there. Some do, of course, you know, it's not a problem, you know. I just want to grow a community, you know. It's something that means everything to me, so we'll do our best to get there, basically. It's like today we were going to do a big giveaway, but to do a giveaway, we need 20 plus people to do so, you know, otherwise it doesn't make any sense. So, you know. Blade Runner, that's a shame. But look, brother, thanks for sharing the love. I massively appreciate you for that, you know. But yeah, and this is honestly, the biggest fight that we've had to have is to try, and which really frustrates me, especially when I'm doing music for like film or something like that, and I'm playing something that I've made in Horizen that makes perfect sense at that moment, and I'm like, this is just perfect for what I'm doing, and it is glorious. And I'm sitting there going, well, why can't the rest of the world know about this? And it's really frustrating. And I tell you why, is because of algorithm on YouTube now, and creators aren't interested unless you pay them a lot of money. And unfortunately, the lot of money is a lot of money. You know, it, like a long time ago, you could send off, you know, an email to these people and say, look, hey, would you mind doing X, Y, and Z? And they'd be happy to do so, you know, based on their time. So you may have to wait 6 months, but that's fine. That's not an issue, as long as you'll get some kind of exposure and some enjoyment out of it. But nowadays you're having to pay a lot of money because the way the algorithm works now on YouTube and the monetization and so on and so forth. So it's very difficult. And we've tried everything that we possibly can, but again, because we don't have huge budgets for this, because all our money is spent in development time, you know, and R&D, and, you know, paying for studios, paying for instruments, and paying for things that we can sample and this type of thing, you know, it works out to be a lot of money that eats into our budget more than what that does, and it's unfortunate, you know. So yeah. Algera, no, 3 times that. So, you know. Okay, it looks like everyone is kind of pointing to Discord as well, which is, you know what? I'm going to do it. So I will, between now and my next stream, I will set up a Discord. I actually already have one, so in fairness, I just need to go and check it, make sure it's all running. And we've got some members in there as well, so, and we can then all just chat on there and just be cool with one another, you know, so we can do that. I want to see if the bug's still there with Studio One, because obviously I use Studio One every day, and Discord for some reason was acting really weird. So I can always test the waters and see what happens. I agree, mate. It is ridiculous, you know, but look, this is the price of admission nowadays, unfortunately. The world has gone a crazy place. It's very, very much money orientated nowadays. As I say, everything has changed drastically with the new algorithms, so on and so forth. So it is very difficult for new independent people to start up nowadays, because it seems that the development is less important nowadays than marketing. Seems like marketing is everything and development comes second, because that's where the money has to be. And, you know, look, it is what it is, right? But, you know, I've said what I've had to say on that. I don't agree with it, but people have to make a living as well. You know, these YouTubers, that's what they do. And so, but then the only ones that are free are the people that only get 10 views, and I can do that myself, if that makes sense. So it's like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, unfortunately. And this is where companies like Traction are good in some ways, where they help us in some ways but not others. And other companies can help us in bigger ways but not other ways. And so you're stuck between a rock and a hard place no matter which way you look. And so we just have to kind of do our best and you know, I mean, all it takes legit is one mainstream channel to pick it up and run with it, and it would be a much bigger community right off the rip, you know. So you know, but it's such a shame that it is what it is. So what to do is to give us 100 of it. Blade Runner, I've tried that. Honestly, we've tried to reach out. I'd say we've tried reaching out to all the YouTubers that do reviews, and we've said, look, you know, hey, we'll give you a copy of this and that and the other, and they come back and say, yep, sure, okay, this is our fee for a standard video that's with a review, and that's that. Then we're looking at the balance, and we're like, okay, wow, that's a lot of money. So basically, like, for a month of YouTube, to get exposure, if we have to submit it to them, then it's going to cost us more like 50 or 60 grand a month, which is kind of crazy in my eyes. Now, if a YouTuber picks it up because they like it and they come to us, then we'll happily oblige. But, you know, then we will play the game and be like, yeah, absolutely, we'll work with you, we'll show you this, that, and the other. And we have done to some reviewers, but, you know, it is what it is. So, you know. So, oh look, Nightbot is Nightbot is interacted. I don't know what you did. So, you know. You can have a community, just let us share our own patches in there so we can. Nightbot I don't control, by the way. It's just auto mod, so just ignore it. It's fine. Nightbot is kicking your ass right there. I love to see it. You must have done something to upset him. Look at him. Nightbot getting all angry. You gotta love it. So, yeah, no, don't get me wrong. We will be doing something where the community plays a part. You know, we absolutely will. There's a few things we've got lined up. We've also got a sampler challenge for our community as well, which we wanted to do. So, where I would create the most bizarre samples possible, and then you guys go out and try and create something with them, which is a lot of fun. So, you know, and then, you know, there's prizes on the line. There's like, you know, you can win something and stuff, you know. It's just like, look, you know, you can win an expansion pack or two or whatever, and, you know, a little bit of fun. So, what does who do? Oh, Nightbot is an auto moderator for YouTube. It's YouTube's thing. So, you know, it just basically it looks after stuff. So I don't know what Algeria did to upset Nightbot, upset YouTube. He did something. So it's just a symbols warning, which probably means he probably maybe I don't know, put too many special characters in or something. I've got no idea. I don't know. I'm interested in myself now. I wanna dig deep into Nightbot's mind. Nightbot, what are you doing to my community? Leave him alone. I love the way he says, "You're starting to bug me." That's harsh. That's fighting words, that is. That's cruel. I'm sorry, that has nothing to do with me, okay? I don't own that shit. I just don't. Yeah, buy him flowers or something, just in case you might get mad. Oh, that's nuts. Wait, Peter, you knew about TAF, about the Ant Factory. You know about that, right? I didn't know anyone was part of that. The Ant Factory stuff that I did before. So, happy times, that was. Happy days. Nice, nice. Wow. It's a very small world, Peter, isn't it? So, you know, it's like, well, yeah. I mean, the Ant Factory, gosh, that was the day. It was never sustainable, but yeah, that was great fun while it lasted, you know. So, you know, that was those were the days, and we had a really big following. That we were like household name for everybody, and that just took off. That just went absolutely crazy. That did. Super happy and super stoked, and you know whatnot, and we did so much for everybody back then. But by that point, I'd done pretty much every single amplifier known to man, and so it was nothing left for us to do. So we kind of stepped back, and then life kind of took over, and then COVID happened, and obviously the Synth Factory kind of grew and happened, and it's been my baby ever since. So it's like I still use a Kemper. A Kemper's over there still in my rack. You can't see it, it's on way over the other side, but I've got several things. I've got the Axe FX systems and Kempers and other bits and pieces. I've got lots of bass heads in there as well. I've got all sorts of nonsense, really. So yeah, unfortunately, I can't use the Amp Factory stuff because of nowadays. Obviously, the code of conduct. So you can't. I'm not allowed to use my existing audience for one purpose to spam another purpose for. So in other words, I can't now. I mean, I had a healthy, I think 842,000 subscribers I had for the Amp Factory on my mail mail shot list, that mail shots list that is, right? So, oh, bear with me. There we go. And I can't use those. So in other words, I can't take all their email addresses and pop them in the synth factory and say, oh, hi, by the way, blah, 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 we've done this, we've done the other, and whatever, because that's code of conduct. I'm not allowed to do that legally. So, well, I built it then, yes, but unfortunately that was a very different world then. You know, it was obviously a much smaller start because there was only a few of us doing it, so it was easier to monopolize and to build upon. As long as I was better than the next guy, it was all good, and as long as I helped out more and did more what I could, then it was always good. I didn't do any videos back then. I did hardly anything of stuff, bits and pieces, but the name still lives on, and I'm very, very thankful and blessed for that to happen. And I loved every moment of it, to be honest. And, you know, I wish it could continue. And now we're on other things. So, yes, trying to build a community now is very different then because we're already late to the party. You know, it's just thinking over time, that's all. But organically, I'm streaming here today, but we've been stuck on 6 viewers for the last 2 hours. So no one has kind of strayed in and then thought, oh, what's this? You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. The algorithm has now changed on YouTube as well. It's like you don't get much throughput unless you start paying for advertising. And so, again, everything is monetized these days. It's kind of crazy, you know. Yeah, Blade Runner, you're not allowed to these days. I mean, people do, of course, but I'm, you know, being a business owner myself, I don't want to take any risks and you know, things like that. So I was advised not to because it's a breach of email privacy and all this type of thing, you know. And so you just got to be so careful about things because, you know, with that many subscribers, you could have, and if you get complaints or whatever by them, then you've got an issue. You know what I mean? So. Right, yeah, so I'm in the UK here, and so, yes, it may be slightly different rules, I don't know. US law is very different to UK law. I don't know, I might be talking a load of shit as well, so I don't know. It was a long time ago, and I was scared to do it ever since, so I didn't, you know. But I will revisit that, because that's not a bad shout, you know, that Peter said, so I could easily kind of... you know, do something and see what's up with that, you know. I don't know. We'll come up with some crazy ways to make it work, you know. So, in one way or another, we're always thinking behind the scenes and whatnot. But we've had a few misses when we had the Plugin Boutique awards that we were nominated for the best synth of the year. We got super excited, you know. We were like, oh, this is it, you know, we're going to make the big time. And it was the worst ever awards I've ever watched. It was like, it was just, you know, anyway. And yeah, I was like really disappointed. So that never came to anything, but you know, it is what it is, but it was fun. You know, so then we live another day and put our adult pants back on again and grind again. You know what I mean? So, you know, hello, Prodfev. You didn't miss the stream. You're here right now. So, you know, but yeah, this is the end of it. We're just vibing out. It's great. I love this, you know. You guys are awesome. Yeah, but Peter, exactly this, right? This is what I'm saying, but you know, and as I said, the algorithm has changed, and so the only way to do that is to keep on feeding the beast, right? But then the next problem is, I mean, I don't know if anyone of you guys has ever streamed before, but anyone can just throw up a camera, put a mic in front, and then just stream, right? But you've got to kind of organize things in your head. You need to kind of understand what you're doing and things like that. Otherwise, you look like an ass. And I'm not saying that I don't look like an ass, because probably I do, and whatever. My dignity has left the room a long while ago. But anyway, the point is that then you've got to think about, okay, what do people want? Then you're starting to micromanage your brain. You're starting to develop a lot of time and energy into something outside your work when you're already snowed under. You know what I mean? When you work like 16-hour days, you don't have much wiggle room for much else, you know, and then you're exhausted and dead by the time you go back in. So you've got to just really play it cool. And so, you know, and then trying to micromanage what producers and composers want every day is really difficult. So, and I'd already thought of lots of things to do, and I've got, realistically in my mind and in my projects, I've got like 3 or 4 different videos that I want to shoot. But then it comes to, oh, no, streaming is one thing, doing YouTube videos is something different. You know, it's like streaming is much easier and quicker because you can just put up a camera and go for it, right? And here I am, you know, it's just live from me to you. But a video, you've got to organize everything, the editing, the composition, the involvement. Yeah, so it's a lot more complicated. And then, and then me not having that knowledge about how to do that, you know, and it's yeah, it's tough. So I'm kind of learning so many things at once here, and I'm trying to do the best I can, but it's just difficult, and you're gonna have to just bear with me. But yeah. Blade Runner, that would be awesome. I mean, yeah, I mean, whatever works will work, you know, but you know, exactly that, Peter. I mean, what I want to do is, someone earlier mentioned it, and I don't know who, so I think I will try and do something like on a weekly basis, right? So if I set up a time, like say Monday nights, 7 o'clock every Monday. Here's my Discord. This is my YouTube channel. Let's go. You know, and just build up slowly. At least people will know that it's a Monday night. You know, and see whether we can kind of build something organically. You know, because, you know, that would be good. I think regular is the way to go. I think, you know, okay, you don't get the notifications. Did you? Are you? If you're subscribed to my channel, you got to hit the little bell icon as well. So, but yeah, I will get Discord. Yeah, Blade Runner. Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, again, this is what I was saying earlier. I've got videos to do, but it's getting them done, which is the problem. It's like, you know, there's, yeah. You know, I need help. Basically, I need help in so many ways possible. You know, so yeah, you know what? I mean, I think all this sort of thing is great that we need to have a Discord channel for, and I will set that up in the next day. So next week, I'll tell you what. Next Monday, I'll stream again. Same place, same time. This next week will be without the Traction email. So then hopefully people will either show up or they won't. But by then I'll have the Discord set up. We can then make an arrangement and a plan of what to do. And then we can go forwards. So, you know, maybe next week we can break some tracks down. We can do something like that, so on and so forth, and it would be kind of cool. And we'll I mean, there's always something to do, right? I mean, always. So, you know, we can create tracks on stream, we can create sound effects, I can create presets and share them with everyone, and I can do, you know, whatever. And we can all play along, you know, and we can just do daft things together, you know, consider it a fun thing, you know, let's an after hours kind of session, just all having fun, just vibing together, right? And I can show people what they want to know. If they want to know a specific thing about composing, or if they're not sure on something, you know, or I can listen to people's tracks and and break it down for them. And yeah, there's millions of things that we can do, right? So, you know, yeah, I don't know about this notification thing. As far as I'm concerned, if you've subscribed and you've hit the little bell icon to say that you'll get notified, then you should get it. So I don't know why you haven't. So that is a little bit confusing, and I can't answer it because I don't work for YouTube. But as far as I know, you should get that notification. I don't know why you didn't. So is that a me thing? Do I have to do something? I don't think I do, right? Surely I don't need to. There's 2 levels of notifications, is there? Wait, what am I missing then? Where's the other notifications? I mean, is it like, because as far as, right, okay. But you select that, surely, right? I don't. Yes? I don't know, I'm so confused by all this. I've got so much to learn, it seems. See, this is why I'm not a streamer. So, it's like, otherwise I'd know all this. You know, I need to learn my shit and just be groovy with it, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. Oh, right. Peter, you've nailed it there. Okay, right. Well, so yeah, okay, that explains a lot then. So basically, I need to grow up, basically, and then otherwise I don't give a shit. So, gotcha. So, okay. So, yeah, wow. See, it was very different on Twitch when I used to stream on Twitch, you know, 5 years ago. Twitch was so much easier, you know, because you'd get a lot of organic views, and all you needed was like someone like 50 subscribers and you'd become a partner, and that was it. It was like really easy. So, but 1,000 is like, wow, that's massive. I've got a long way to go. I've only got what, 260 or something. So, but I tell you now though, we started this channel with 0. So and so we grew 260 like real quick, and then obviously we didn't have stuff to stream and yada yada, and life takes over, we get busy, and we didn't. So but that's on me, you know, that's on me. And you know, it's like, if there's a want for this type of thing, I will devote myself to it. I will make time, you know. That's the type of person I am. And so I will happily push something else off to do this. But I believe in hard work, and if you've got things to do, you've got to work hard for, right? And so it never comes to you. You've got to grab it by its balls, right? And make it work. So let's do that. So let's make this community what it should be. And, you know, but it's very difficult because it's the synth factory, and people might get turned off because I'm sitting here basically preaching about my own product, which is fine, but I don't necessarily want it just to be about that. It's also about music as well and general stuff. So, but it will feature obviously Horizen a lot because, hey, this is what we do and this is what brought us all together in the first place. So, but you know, we'll do other things as well, of course. All right, Peter. That's a good shout. And on that brilliant note, I'm going to have to wave everyone a goodbye and a wonderful evening. So, look, guys, thanks for all the heads up. You guys are awesome, you know that. So, honestly, genuinely, right? Genuinely, you're awesome, and I mean that. Thanks so much for sticking by me today. Yeah, let's see what we can do. I will get Discord open and up and running and set up by next week. So next week I can give you a link and we can take it from there, you know. So Polyphonics, they do, and they would have sent the email about this stream today, but as I said right at the beginning, that I have to then tell them every time, and then we have to schedule a time, and so their time doesn't align with mine a lot of the time. So like they chose this date today because it fitted with their schedule, so it's a little bit awkward. So now I can say to you, because you're here, that look, let's do this same time, same place next week on Monday. I'll be here, and then I don't need to worry about getting Traction involved, sending out another email, because you know they can. If they can, they would, and I will still ask them to do so because it can't help, you know. And so hopefully it will be a good thing. But you know, you never know. Let's just do what we can do. But yeah, so this is why I want to grow our YouTube channel, so that I can then put out random streams randomly and be like, hey guys, I'm here, look, check out this, what we've just done, or hey look, this is what we want to do, and hey, let's discuss this, and what do you think about this, and hey, we've got this idea on the works, feedback, question mark, so on and so forth, you know, and things like that. It will be kind of cool, and exactly what we kind of want, instead of just sitting there waiting, we're not knowing whether we've done a good job or not. It's really tough, you know. So but anyway, there we go. Look, I will love you and leave you, and again, thanks very much for everything. But seriously, please, in the comments below after the stream, because you can't do it until it finishes, please just write down what sort of things you'd like to have on the channel, and I can think about it and consider it and get things done, basically. So whether it would be me sitting here writing some music, or you know, doing patch design, or helping you guys with patch design, or taking requests for it. There you go, it's something fun. And just whatever, anything, you know, listening to music or breaking things down or whatever. But yeah, anyway. Otherwise, between now and then, I'm going to high five everyone. Ready? Done. So thanks so much. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and I will get things moving in the background. So you take care, and be well. Peace and love.